Dear learners, now we have seen that there are 8 different inventory control techniques. One of the best or one of the frequently used inventory control technique is ABC analysis. Now let's talk about what is ABC analysis. So we have already seen that it is also referred as always better control in the inventory management world. Now it is the technique which is used in inventory management to categorize items based on their value. So this is the logic in ABC classification. So they use basically the value of the products, and it is indeed linked to the Pareto principle. So this technique has direct relevance with the Pareto principle. So Pareto principle is also known as 80-20 rule, and this principle states that roughly 80% of the effects are coming from 20% of the causes. So it simply says that if you focus on 20% of the causes, you will get 80% of the result. So in ABC analysis, items are classified into 3 major categories, which are A, B, and C, and which is based on the value of the product. Now, what is A class? So in A class, these are basically most valuable items, but they contribute relatively small percentage of the total items. Typically 10 to 20% of the items from entire item list are accounting for 80% of the inventory value, which are part of A class material. Then next is B class items. So these items basically fall in the medium in terms of value as well as their percentage contribution in the total products. So typically 20 to 30% of the items which accounts for remaining 15% of the inventory value are part of B class products. And finally, C class items. So C class items are completely opposite to what we have seen in A class items. So C class items have the lowest value, and they typically contribute numerous quantity in the entire product range. So typically remaining 50 to 70% of inventory items, which accounts for only 5 to 10% of inventory value, are part of C class items in the ABC classification. Now, very important is that we have seen this example, but this is still a choice of management or company professionals to define the figure of how much percent of items or how much percent of annual consumption should be considered in the categories of A, B, and C. But usually there is a very slight difference in the figures that we have seen in our example here. Now, in today's manufacturing and retail business, you will see more than 95% of the companies are using this kind of analysis, which is ABC analysis. And this is one of the most widely used analysis technique globally. Now, when we plot ABC analysis graph, where there will be 2 axes, and one axis will have contribution of items in percentage. Basically, this will be x-axis, and second axis is basically plotting value of the items in percentage. So if you plot this graph, you will see this graph in this kind of format. So here you will see the A category material, which contributes less in number but more in the value. Secondly, B is basically medium in number and medium in value, and C is basically highest in number but lowest in the value. Now let's consider a relatable example for ABC analysis. So if you go in a retail store, you will see A class items in the form of, high-end electronics or luxury items or even high value products that generate significant portion of the store's inventory value. So this A class can include high class electronics like television, refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machine, furniture items. So these becomes part of A class items in the stores or retail store. And B class items includes medium value items like clothes or household items like utensils. And C class products are basically inexpensive items with huge contribution in the numbers in terms of stores inventory. So these items can be food items, or you will see soap, you will see recharge battery sales or biscuit packets. So that becomes part of C class inventory in the stores. Similarly, in manufacturing company, A class can be a complex machinery parts, specialized components, or any high value raw material which is critical to production process. And in B class, there are standardized components or intermediate products or materials with moderate value and moderate importance. In C class, there are general supplies, basically low value consumables like oil, nut, bolts, or even washers, whose value is really less, but they are required in large number of quantities. Now, as far as use of the ABC analysis is concerned, so the very first use is basically having resource optimization. How it is possible? It is possible by categorizing items based on their value, where business can allocate their resources more efficiently. So there they can prioritize the control on high value items, that means A class items, by adopting multiple cost effective strategies. And they can also limit their attention on the low value items like C class items. So very best or very relevant example of the use in ABC analysis is a cycle counting. Now cycle counting is the process of physical verification of all the materials and checking the quantity physically versus the quantity available in the ERP system. And if there is any discrepancy, that discrepancy has to be resolved in terms of cycle counting process. So in cycle counting, A class products are frequently counted, let's say sometime even weekly or sometime even on a monthly basis. Then B class products are moderately counted, like their frequency can be quarterly or twice in a year kind of. And C class items are very less frequently counted, even once in few quarters or once in a year kind of frequency is set for ABC material in terms of cycle counting. Then another use of this is basically demand forecasting. So here in demand forecasting, how this will help is by focusing on high value items, businesses can allocate their resources effectively so that the customer demand can be met. And it also ensures that inventory levels and production plans are also aligned with the items that have the greatest impact on the inventory value or even the sales. So ABC analysis simply quotes that 20% of the entire population. So simply to relate this ABC analysis with our general example, so it says that 20% of the entire population has 80% of the wealth, or 20% of the customers giving 80% of the revenue, or it can be 20% of your suppliers are contributing to 80% of your purchase value. So that's how the ABC classification is, which simply says that you have to focus on limited number of inventory to generate high number of benefit in terms of value or in terms of control.